Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the South Holland series, a district of Lincolnshire that contains 22 of them, centred around the town of Spalding. There's some good ones out here, so let's dive in. Welcome back to Lincolnshire, everybody. Now, we're in a district of Lincolnshire here that we've never touched before. This is South Holland, which is based around the town of Spalding. And we may as well start small and gradually get bigger, because this is the smallest one that South Holland has got. This is Little Sutton. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. I've been waiting for a long time to hit this bit of Lincolnshire, and I can tell you, this won't disappoint. We start our journey around South Holland in the tiniest of its 22 parishes, Little Sutton, which is just to the north of the A17 between Kings Lynn and Spalding. Now, because this one is so small, there's not much to talk about, so I'm going to use this intro to give you a bit of background about South Holland in general. Centuries ago, Lincolnshire was divided into the Parts of Lindsey, the Parts of Kesteven, and the Parts of Holland. All three names are still represented in Lincolnshire's modern-day districts, but South Holland is the only one that makes any reference to Holland. North Holland is what we now know as Boston. Both Boston and South Holland used to be one county, which was governed by Holland County Council until 1974. The Holland name is not a coincidence. There's a definite resemblance in landscape between the Parts of Holland and the region in the Netherlands called Holland, although their meanings are different. Here in England, Holland means land of the hill spurs. Although hill spurs out here are hardly obvious, most of the land in this part of Lincolnshire is flat. However, both have landscapes that are low-lying and are known for tulip growing, and that's why there's one on the South Holland logo. I can't wait to check all these out, so let's dive in and get started. We begin in the south of Little Sutton on a road called Hundreds Lane. This is a pretty much dead straight road which crosses the A17 halfway along its length. There isn't a lot down here. There's a handful of houses and some farms scattered along it, but mostly Hundreds Lane is all about the arable land around it. That will be a recurring theme in South Holland. The flat, sparsely populated areas between settlements is ideal for the growing of crops. In fact, South Holland is one of the most important districts this country has for food production, and I'm not just talking about the stuff in the fields either. Hundreds Lane crosses the A17 just to the south of the main village. Keep the A17 in mind because when we hit the main village in a moment, we'll be walking along its former route. The A17 connects Newark in Nottinghamshire to Kings Lynn in Norfolk, and in these parts, its current route was once something very different. Our main walk is only just over 1 kilometre in length. Little Sutton is easily the smallest parish in South Holland. The main village is formed of two main clusters of housing, one on Bridge Road and one on Hospital Drove, which is where we are here. There are many references in this area to a hospital, although you won't find a local A&E with ambulances and all that jazz around here. Rather, it's a reference to Guy's Hospital, and we'll talk more about that in future South Holland episodes. So this is Bridge Road, and it's the former route of the A17. Passing right through Little Sutton, it connects two other Suttons, Sutton Bridge and Long Sutton, together. It might be small, but the fact Little Sutton is on this road is helpful for public transport reasons. It's an easily accessible place. The bus stop here has 3 services. The main one is the 505, which connects Spalding to Kings Lynn. You can also get to Wisbeach too if you use the number 50. So even though I've got quite a few Lincolnshire videos on this channel, there will be new people who are watching me for the very first time here in South Holland. This is what I do if I find a parish notice board like the one behind me. It's kind of surprising in a way that Little Sutton has got one of these because it's such a small community. But when I find one, I put one of these cards, TVI card, with my logo on it and a few details about the channel onto the board. So let's not waste any time. Here we go. This is a pin board. That's very helpful because normally I use blue tack, but if there's a pin board, it makes my job so much easier. There we go. That's the first one down in South Holland. Now on to our next major landmark, the only real major landmark in this place, and that's the factory, literally just a few paces that way. By far the biggest landmark in Little Sutton is a factory which cans baked beans, vegetables, puddings and meat. It employs over 600 people. In 2001, this factory was the birthplace of a culinary novelty. A team of food scientists headed by Dr. Malcolm Crouchman created the world's first chips in a can meal. There's been a factory here for decades. In 1981 it was acquired by Hillsdown Holdings, who in 1990 became HL Foods, and that became Premier Foods in November 2002. It's now Prince's Foods, and this site, known as their Long Sutton factory, is the company's largest in the UK. It produces a wide range of can sizes to meet the needs of a varying customer base, anything from 145 grams up to 3 kilogram industrial packs. Prince's brands include Bachelors, Cross & Blackwell, Farrows, Juicy, Trex and Flora, amongst others. Chances are you've bought something that came from here. And once you get beyond the factory, you are then on the border with Long Sutton. If I just show you the border here, the village sign that you saw at the beginning of this video is just there. It says Little Sutton on the other side of that Long Sutton sign. Long Sutton is over there. There are some more businesses, as you can see. There's one called LC Packaging over there. Well, that's obviously in Long Sutton and not Little Sutton because the boundary is right there. And if you go down the side of the factory, that will take you towards the A17. I drove in on that road earlier, and that's really all there is to Little Sutton apart from what I've shown you. Very small place and a very good start, small start to South Holland. It will get bigger, I promise you. If you've never seen me before, South Holland is full of places that are much bigger than this. This is the smallest one of the lot, and so it's a good starter, but it doesn't really show you what South Holland is all about, not yet anyway. We will though be seeing plenty, I think, of these things as we journey around South Holland. Greenhouses, there are loads in this part of Lincolnshire, South Holland, Boston, because as well as food that's produced in a factory like that, there's plenty of food that's grown in those. So we will be seeing a lot of them as we journey around this part of Lincolnshire. But for now, I'm heading off to my next one here in South Holland, which is not too far away, and it's much bigger than this. All I have to do is follow this road past the factory and I'll pretty much be there. It's right on the border with Norfolk. So I'll see you there next week. But for now, this has been the parish of Little Sutton, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.